Wow, so how's everybody doing out there in Radioland? I think we got Josh Renette Francis on the line from Good Humans Inc. Josh Renette, are you there?
Yes, I am. How are you? Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you as well. How's the year been treating you so far?
So far, so good.
All right. Any bad habits you picked up from last year that you're carrying over to this year? Or have you picked up any new bad habits?
I am trying to avoid drinking as much juice. So I've been very conscious and be like, I'm going to have some water.
Okay, yeah, because I actually developed a drinking habit.
What are you drinking?
Water. Sipping water. It's my new bad habit. They say bad habits are hard to break, so I've picked up a new bad habit that might be good for me.
That will be good for you.
I think it has been. I think I can feel some difference, but sometimes you fall off the train, but I just, took a couple of sips there. So, Good Humans Inc. I mean, you guys have been doing a lot of great things for the past number of years, and I've seen you winning awards and all sorts of stuff. So, I can only imagine what this new year will bring for Good Humans Inc. So, what have you got in store for 2026?
So it's so important. Thank you. I did win a few awards last year. Let's start there.
Yeah.
2025 was an amazing year. I will say to anybody, we had lots of positive things that came out of 2025, and I think 2026 is going to be even bigger and better.
Because if they came out of 2025, they probably landed right in 2026. What do you think?
You're right. I feel like that's the energy that we got to go into 2026 with. Whatever happened in 2025 is going to be even better.
Right. It's like 2025 gave birth to 2026. So looking forward to the future.
I love that way. I love that way of looking at it.
I love that way too.
And I will say to anybody, your perspective on anything is going to determine your trajectory.
Oh,
so we got to go into the year thinking, and it's going to be a great year. It's going to be positive. So whatever comes our way, we're looking at it positive. Because if we go into 2026 looking for the negative, I feel like the negative is going to attract us.
It will certainly find you.
So we are leaving a great year. I'm encouraging anybody who's listening to check us out on social media. We're on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. We had lots of throwbacks the last few days of 2025 and just the first couple of days of 2026. And we actually celebrated over 104 positive interactions, whether it was an award, whether it was us trying to break up Guinness World Book record, whether it was we were participating in a cleanup, a partnership. 2025 was great, and lots of these partnerships will be happening in 2026. And one of our biggest activities is going to be what we call Ride for a Cause. The idea is to ride at 300 locations for 30 minutes at each location on a stationary bike. So we're going to be moving one bike, that's stationary, multiple places around the island, and riding for 30 minutes to amplify our voices when it comes to climate action and disability awareness.
That's an interesting one. So you're going to be riding a stationary bike in different locations for half an hour.
Correct.
And how can I put it? What kind of time frame is this happening?
So the idea is for us to run the campaign for the entire year.
Okay.
300 locations is a lot of space, it's a lot of time. However, it's not necessarily about the time, it's about the impact that we're hoping to have. Anybody who knows Good Humans 268, for the last few years, we've been speaking about a child by the name of Diana that goes to Potter's Primary School, and the fact that she had past tense, it's now solved, difficulties going to the bathroom, and we lobbied, and there was a accessible bathroom installed. Just by way of information, I say it a lot and think individuals understand. An accessible bathroom simply means the stall is bigger that her wheelchair can get in and out of the bathroom. They installed, the Board of Education, shout out to Mr. Ponta and his team, was able to install that bathroom, And then with the partnership of the Giving Syndicate and several sponsors last year, we were able to install a ramp. However, we're back to square one because in September, there is not a completely accessible school on island. That's a secondary school. So we face the challenge that she lives in Potters Primary, and the idea is for her to go to St. Sir Neville Richards, because that is how our system is set up. You normally go to the school in your closest vicinity. However, Sir Neville Richards is not an accessible school. So we go back to square one of not having a bathroom. And in a conversation with Diana, she said to us that she wants to go to Antigua Girls High School, which I'm super excited that she's aiming for the stars. However, the Antigua Girls High School is also not an accessible school. There is some access at the Princess Margaret, and there's some access at SMS, which is St. Mary's Secondary School. However, there's the logistical issue of getting her to and from these schools. So we now have a win of a bathroom and a ramp, but we're back to square one, as in now she's moving to a next school. What happens? And this is why we're riding. We're riding to ensure more people know about the story, more businesses contribute. We're actually aiming to raise just about $80,000. And being very realistic, I had a meeting with Diana from the Giving Syndicate on Monday, and I said to her, while I would like for her to go to St. SNRA, that's what I would like. The reality is the most feasible thing is to get her to St. Mary's Secondary. St. Mary's Secondary, because St. Mary's Secondary has an accessible bathroom already, and all we would have to do is to get the lift put in. The lift is going to cost us between $30,000 or $40,000. It's based on the design of the lift. It's based on who's putting in the lift. There's so many different factors, but we would have to buy a lift, and then we would have to transport her to school. However, transporting her to school and buying a lift is going to cost us less than building a bathroom. They are private transfers, so I know we can use the school bus system, and I was very realistic with Nadia. We can't possibly use the school bus system, but from speaking to the principal at Potters, one of the challenges they face is when there were school activities, Diana was not included in these activities because the bus, nobody was going to fight with folding down her wheelchair, putting her wheelchair into the bus, and it's just a struggle. If we were to raise funds for private transfer, and there's several private transfer services, it would cost us $2,250 per term. So we're looking at raising about $7,000 for a private transfer. Please bear in mind, we will be reaching out to the government. We will try that route. However, if that doesn't work, we need to raise just about between $50,000 to $60,000 to install the lift at St. Mary's Secondary and pay for private transfer. And I am pretty sure that is cheaper. And I even said to Nadia, for the bathroom at Potters Primary, the bathroom, when they gave us the estimate, was over $80,000. The walkway was over $60,000. Shout out to L French Construction for really taking the brunt of that cost by giving us workmen for free. But with accessibility, you have to be really practical. Is it cheaper for me to just go to another school? Maybe we can beg the school bus system to really make some special accommodations for her. And I said to Nadia, one of the challenges we face with that, the school bus system is already stretched. I'm a very realistic advocate. I live in Johnson's Point, and their school bus is passing at 6:30 in the morning to pick up students. So the system is already stretched with school buses. So what we have to do is find reasonable accommodation. And SMSS, St. Mary's Secondary, and I'm being very honest, seems like the most feasible school that she can get to, maneuver properly, and actually spend her 5 years in comfort. It's a smaller school. The teachers there are great. Actually, just ironically, I was at SMS for 4 years, so I know she's going to have a good time. But we're having this conversation in January for something that's going to happen in September, because for individuals with disabilities, it's not as easy as, okay, she's going to take the exam and whatever school she goes to, she goes to.
Well, that is quite an endeavor you're on. Sounds like quite, I mean, as you say, I guess it's not as expensive as some of the other projects, but sounds like quite a lift.
I love that. I love that, Fawn. Definitely a lift. And I will say, while Diana is the focus and she's the name that we fling around a lot, the reality is it is for every other child who has a disability that we need to ensure that there's a school. So we now have the Potters Primary School with some retrofitting. So that works for students. And if we're able to get the lift in at St. Mary's Secondary, we now have one primary school and one secondary school with accessibility, so it no longer becomes a question as to where students could go, what are the possibilities, because we have put in the time and the work to ensure that students who have physical disabilities and not learning disabilities have a place to go. And it's important to understand the distinction between a physical disability and a learning disability. A physical disability is a child like Diana. There's nothing wrong with her brain. She has an impairment, so her legs do not work, so she needs a wheelchair. Another child with a physical disability might be a child who has an amputation. There's nothing wrong with that child's brain, so they can fit into the regular school system. The only thing is we just need to make some accommodations. However, a child with a learning disability, these children go to Adele, Victory Center, School for the Blind, School for the Deaf also deals with different types of disabilities. And disability itself is a very unique, special, sensitive, amazing journey for parents, teachers, students, and everyone to learn and adapt to. So we have to ensure that when we're thinking of disability and we're thinking of solutions, it is not a one size fits all.
Excellent. But so what you're saying is, it's not just, this project will not only benefit Diana, but other students. This could be a school that is particularly, I guess, retrofitted for students who have, similar issues.
Correct.
Okay. So yeah, it sounds like quite, a reasonable investment.
Exactly. So
yeah.
the idea is, I am an optimist. I want to renovate 10 of our schools on island. So I want to renovate one school in each primary school zone and the primary school in Barbuda. So we have 5 primary schools retrofitted. And then I want to do 4 secondary schools. So at this point, St. Mary's Secondary is on that listing, Antigua Girls High School, Antigua Grammar School, and Novel Richards, and the secondary school in Barbuda. So over the next 10 years, I am hoping that we can raise funds to retrofit these 10 schools.
All right.
However, I'm a very realistic advocate. I might not be able to get to 10 schools. So I am willing to invest in 2 in Antigua and 2 in Barbuda. And I'm saying, okay, yes, while Antigua Grammar School, Antigua Girls High School, and FNRE are also schools I'm considering, what is the most economic school at this point? And the most economic school is St. Mary's Secondary.
All right. Are you able to take a call? Hello?
Yes,
Hello?
I am able to take a call.
Okay. There's a caller on the line. Caller.
Very good, but I'd like to ask that young lady, when you're doing these things in the schools, do you have a conversation?
I can't hear the person. It's very low.
She can't hear you. Very low.
Well, that's from your end.
Can
Because
you?
I'm hearing you, and I heard her a while ago.
I turned you up a bit. Can you hear? Can you hear?
Okay.
Can you hear?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can. Go ahead.
Okay, that's very good. But when you do all these things in the schools, the government schools, do you have a conversation? Ever had a conversation with the Board of Education or the Minister of Education?
Yes, so before we make any project on any government school, we go through a process of consulting the Minister of Education, the Director of Education, and the Board of Education. Hence, so the bathroom for Potters Primary, when we were lobbying for it, the Board of Education actually stepped in and got it built. However, they didn't have a budget to put in the ramp, so we actually raised funds to put the ramp at Potters Primary, and we're now beginning the conversation. So I've had a conversation with the Director of Education. I've had a conversation with Mr. Ponter from the Board of Education, and the reality is Diana is one child. This is a big undertaking, and this is why I keep saying, while she is the name that we're flinging around, it's for more individuals.
She's very low.
Okay, well, she's quite loud. You want to listen on the radio, or you have another question?
Because I have to strain my ear, can hardly hear. Okay, well, she answered the first part of my question, so I won't go on to the second part because she answered the first part.
All
right. Okay, then. Thank you very much, miss.
No problem. And just to add to the caller, the reality is when I make these pitches, and I said to Nadia in my meeting on Monday, Diana I was at Five Islands Primary this morning, and I said that kindergarten, grade 1, grade 2, grade 3, grade 4. I met Diana when she was in grade 4. For 5 years of her life, she was going to a government school. Potters is not a private school. And she had to ask a cleaner, the teacher, her friends, and in the beginning, her mom had to take her to the bathroom. And the school lobbied for a bathroom. They would have done many things. But the reality is, as a citizen of Antigua and Barbuda, I think that we need to step away from this notion that the government has to do it all. So for me, Good Humans 268 Inc., I would love for the government just to put in the list. I would love for the government, you know what, we're not going to even put in a list at SMS. We're going to get SNRE up and running for her. I would love that. But I'm a very realistic advocate. The government cannot do it all. So what we must do as civil societies and as individuals is see a problem and be willing to help that problem. So Nadia from Luxury Locations, they're willing to pledge money annually to it. I am pretty sure in the conversation we had to her, we're going to reach out to the sponsors from last year. That is Elmsbridge, that is CIBC, that is L French Construction, that is Builders Merchant, that is Sky Tiger. And we're going to be reaching out to the wider population saying, we have a child, we need your help. Yes, it's a government school. Yes, the government should be doing it. But as a realistic advocate and a realistic citizen, the government of Antigua and Barbuda cannot do it all. And we need to step up and assist. It is lots of businesses' social corporate responsibility to give back to society and move away from this notion that the government of Antigua and Barbuda is the one who has to do it all.
Excellent. All right. So, are there any other projects that you're engaged in?
Outside of building a accessible situation for Diana, we're still doing our student community service program. I was in Five Islands this morning, and I want to say to individuals, I want to change legislation in Antigua and Barbuda. Again, it is a huge undertaking. However, we must manage waste from the source. The idea is to gather data from Trinidad and Tobago, St. Lucia, Grenada, St. Kitts and Nevis, Louisiana. We have the data from Barbados, and we have the data from Jamaica, plus the data from Antigua and Barbuda, and influence legislation change on islands. Waste must be managed from the source. Every business, every event, every bar, every school, we must begin implementing waste management practices at the beginning. That means we're going to be separating our waste, items that can be recycled, items that can be composted, and other ways. And if we're able to influence legislation change and ensure that individuals are educated and sensitized, we're going to have a cleaner Antigua and Barbuda. Again, this is a huge undertaking. It's the government's responsibility to change legislation. However, an organization like us, I will say to anybody, when we started our student community service program, all we wanted to do was to recycle, volunteer, and have students plant some trees. That's it. We received grant funding for recycling, so we've been heavy on recycling, and all we wanted to do was for students to recycle 50 items for the entire school year. And the last 3 years has taught us it's not enough in the schools. Every event must have a waste management plan. Every business must have a waste management plan. Households need better waste management plan. It is unfair to the people in the Five Islands and cooks that all of our waste goes to the landfill with no regard for who they are. There's a landfill fire, there's a big flame, and the individuals in that community suffer. at Five Islands this morning, the grade 4 students shout out to the teachers for even inviting us to have that conversation. I asked the students what happened last year around June when there was a landfill fire, and they were like, air pollution. And then I said, what happened on that day? And like, school had to be dismissed. And I said, that is the reality of landfill fires. And we're planning to build a bigger Five Islands primary. We're planning to expand UE. However, if we expand UE, we're building a better and bigger primary school, but we do not solve the problem at Cooks. We're cooked, literally. Because we're going to keep having landfill fires. We're going to keep the stains. The place is going to keep looking dirty. And the solution to the problem is not at Cooks. The solution to the problem is for every event goer, every fete, every business. Is it fair? And I'm talking from experience. And if you check out our Facebook page, I have been in the garbage for Rise, and I've been in the literal garbage for Breakfast Fest. And we extracted all of the things that could be recycled from this garbage. So I know that Fest promoters are sending millions of items to the landfill that can be recycled. Every weekend there's a fete, but are we recycling those items? No. What is happening to the food scraps? We're sending them to the landfill. All of these hotels, all of these bars, it's the same thing. Items can be recycled, the food can be composted, but we're not doing anything. We're sending it all to the landfill. And while we want voluntary change, it cannot be voluntary. We need legislation behind of us to ensure individuals follow Sustainable Development Goal 12, responsible production and consumption.
Excellent. Well, any final thoughts for the listeners?
I just want individuals to stay locked on our social media channels. Thank you, Al, for having us, and I hope we can have at least a monthly conversation, giving you some updates on what we're doing. And remember that Antigua and Barbuda belongs to all of us, and we as a people have to ensure we care for the environment and we care for the most vulnerable groups within our society.
All right. Well, thanks for joining me today. And that does sound like an idea, a monthly conversation. All right. Yeah, so we can make that happen. Thank you so much.
We shall make it happen. Thank you, Al.
All right.
All right.